In this video, we're going to be looking at repeatable instruments, which are a very helpful tool we can use in RedCap to input lists of data. As an example, we may have a list of multiple medications that we want to report. So using repeatable instruments, RedCap gives us a way to input data about each medication on a separate form. So to show you repeatable instruments, I will be using an example out of this childhood nephrotic syndrome project. But if you follow along, you should be able to use the same method you will see here in any project that includes repeatable instruments. So the first thing we're going to want to do is create a new record for this example. All right, so we'll just click New Record. So as I'm sure many of you are familiar with, if we look at this first page after creating the new record, and we look down on the instruments, what I want to show you here is these two forms, concomitant medications and the medications taken. So here, again, just as an example, I'm going to input some data. So I'm just inputting the date, I'm looking at my paper CRF, just going through and performing data entry. Okay, so some of these are just yes and no questions. Okay, great, so I fill it out. And then what you'll see here at the bottom is you may see examples of some types of questions in the CRFs where it specifically says to proceed to concomitants, medications taken CRF. So it's telling you that if you do have multiple medications or some sort of list that you want to report, you go ahead and you go to the next form. So at the bottom I click next form. And we can see on the side here is I'm at the next form, so this one's called medications taken. And what I do, if I have a list of data, is right at the top it says fill a new instance of this form once for each medication. So as an example, my first medication is 10% dextrose water. So I go ahead and I input everything that follows. Okay, great. And let's say, remember, this is a list, and let's say I have another medication that I also want to report. So on my paper CRF, I have two medications that I want to report. So now what I'll do at the bottom is very carefully I'll select Save and add a new instance. So this is the new option that we want people to be aware of. And at the top, I can see that I'm on the same form, but this is current instance is 2. So again, I will select this. I'm looking at my paper CRF. The second medication they reported was 50% dextrose water. I go ahead and I input the following information as well. And so if these are the only two medications that I want to report off of a list, I'll go ahead and mark complete. If I wanted to add another instance, I could just click the button again to just add another instance, and it would give me a new form for, let's say, another medication. But for this example, I'm just going to go ahead and exit, and I want to show you how you can go back and look at those repeatable instruments, those instances that we made. So I go back into the record. So just like we showed here, what you'll notice is now there's multiple circles kind of stacked on top of each other. And if I ever want to go back maybe to edit or check my data, this is where I would look. I would click on those bubbles and they would drop down, and I would click instance 1 or 2. If I needed to come back and add another instance, maybe I forgot to on that list, I could go ahead and add one here. It would just make a third one. So again, we can see that there's 2. This is another way to just add another one, is right from that list. You would see at the top there's a third instance now. Okay, so just kind of showing you a couple different ways to navigate and to get back to those different instances that we made here. Again, now when we have multiple records, if we want to go through and check, we can see that in the record dashboard, record status dashboard, we can do the same thing where we'll have multiple kind of circles stacked on top of each other. And this is a good place where we can see any CRFs or any instruments that have multiple instances. So this is a good place to check.